Shabbat Hagadol, the Great Shabbat. That will be a part of our Haftorah traditionally for tomorrow on this, the Shabbat before Pesach, a Haftorah that is messianic. For if God could take us as a people from bondage, then we who still live in a broken world have reason to hope that our history is a spiral that rises to a higher place. That, the image of a spiral, is very different than, for instance, the Greek world that saw history as not unlike the seasons, as circular. The idea of the Jewish tradition, going back to those same period of time as the Greek period, with this notion of a messianic trajectory, is that when we come back 1 year later to the same point, we are 1 year closer to redemption. 1 year ago, Carl Seder and I led Seder by Zoom. It was new to us, this technology. We had somebody come into the office and we sat opposite each other at the desk so that we could be in sync. And we're delighted to find that well over 80 screens, which means 80 families in many cases, were sharing as a community the Seder. So first I want to remind you of this opportunity this year. Sunday is the second Seder. Carl and I will be doing a second Seder experience, not the whole thing. You're responsible for your own dinner and finding and hiding and then finding the afikomen. But to share in the melodies like tonight with Carl is to feel uplifted. I'll do some teaching. Rabbi Funberg will do some teaching. 6 to 7:15 with some extra readings. We will, as a community, complement what we did the first night. 1 year later, when we did the Seder last year, it was novel. And at the time, it was an unknown how much longer that coronavirus would be around. You may recall that that first shutdown in the middle of March was for 3 weeks. We thought that as a community, if we all united, we could squelch it. Well, obviously, that didn't happen. Though it is different. This year, we do, many of us, though not all, have vaccines that opens the door a bit, though not fully. Meaning, this year, when we say all who are hungry come and eat, we're very careful who we're inviting in. And that's understandable. We live in a time of uncertainty. And so, this year, for most of us, our gatherings will not be what we were used to in the past, much more limited in who are our guests. And that is with some sadness, because we still long for the Seder as the time of gathering. The rabbis ask, how long was it from the first plague to the 10th plague? And I will add, the Seder is on the eve before departure in the Bible. It's chapter 12 of Exodus, and one way you might prepare for the Seder is rereading chapter 12. That's the night of trepidation. The rabbis say that the angel of death will be in Egypt on that night before the Exodus. And it's not a night you leave your house. For once death is circulating, you must sequester. You don't take chances. Death, as it moves among the homes, doesn't necessarily distinguish between people, but it can distinguish between homes in which people are sequestered. And so, back to chapter 12. There they are, the night before, around a table with roasted lamb, told that night there would be the 10th plague and they would leave in the morning. But how long was it from the first plague to this moment? It doesn't say in the Bible. The rabbis assert, as one of the midrashim, the imaginings, that a full year had passed. Now, I pause to say a full year has passed with COVID now. We didn't know how long it would be, and frankly, sadly, we don't know how much longer before indeed our departure in a free way into our streets, into our stores, into Disneyland. We don't know how long before we do so unbridled. And so on this night, Shabbat HaGadol, the Shabbat before the departure, there is a sense of, I've been there, done that. It's been plague after plague, count them, 9. And here we are, still in Egypt. And we can't help but feel, after month after month after month, in which the plague did not just go away, that when will it end? And so a closing thought. Shabbat HaGadol, the great Sabbath I mentioned, is a haftorah that is messianic. It's a haftorah that builds on the collective history that we did leave slavery. We did move to new beginnings. We did ultimately reach the promised land. And with that, we know that history moves in a trajectory that unfolds, though with starts, to freedom. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe. Here we are, Shabbat HaGadol, the night before our Seders. Heaven knows we would wish to have a Seder with a table filled with family and friends and even strangers. But this Pesach too, it will be more limited. This Pesach will be a little bit more adept at the technology, and we will perhaps gather as families with Zoom before or after. But next year, God, may we be free. May we gather with unbridled from any fears. Amen.